night or broad daylight, she's bringing the truth into the fight. Shining a light where the shadows creep, for the lost, the stolen, the ones who will weep. She won't turn away, she won't back down, even when the loony clowns come round. Threats don't shake her, lies don't win. She stands for justice right till the end. Want the truth, want the best, wanna be safe as you chat. Find kids true crime, it's worth your time. She's got your back, she's on the line. YouTube, Twitter, TikTok too, Facebook stream, she'll fight for you. Chase fame, some chase views, but she fights for those with nothing to lose. For the kids who vanish without a trace, she won't stop till she cracks the case. They try to silence, they try to scare, but truth don't break and she's still there, calling out monsters, showing their game. Justice comes when you speak their name. Want the truth, want the best, wanna be safe as you chat. Find kids true crime, it's worth your time. She's got your back, she's on the line. YouTube, Twitter, TikTok too, Facebook stream, she'll fight for you. Kids stand strong, she makes the choice. For victims gone, for those in need, she's fighting hard, she won't concede. Want the truth, want the best, wanna be safe as you chat. Find kids true crime, it's worth your time. She's got your back, she's on the line. YouTube, Twitter, TikTok too, Facebook streams, she'll fight for you. At the end of the day, this is all we have to say. Viper will always have her back. He will kick you right in the sack.
Good morning. I know it's early. I know hardly anybody's going to be here, but that's okay. So, this lady here, she's stepmom. Her name is Alex Yates. She's being sentenced today. She was having sexual relations with her 15-year-old stepson. This case is horrible. I think it's a bunch of BS. She took a plea deal and she pled no contest. Well, when you do crimes against kids, you should be able to make a plea like that. She was a nurse, but what we're going to do before, I think, 7 o'clock, like in a half hour or so, we're going to have her sentencing, so we're going to watch that. But in the meantime, we're going to watch this from Law and Crime. Okay, which one? Sentencing. Here we go.
By the way, have you ever left a meeting and thought, what did we just talk about for the last 30 minutes? Or maybe you're in a position where you want to take notes, but you really can't. Well, I'll tell you what, I've been there. a lot of times, and luckily there is now a solution. It's called Claude Notepen. This is an incredible tool that leverages AI to boost your productivity. So you can wear it in a few different, an arrest report from Ocala, Florida. Because now 35-year-old Alexis Yates, also known as Alexis Von Yates, is facing a charge of sexual battery on a person 12 to 18 years of age by a person in familial custody. So how did we get here? Well, to talk about it, I want to bring in victims' rights lawyer John Phillips. John, thanks so much for coming back here on Sidebar. My gosh, we're going to get into more of the disturbing details of what allegedly happened here between Yates and her stepson in just a moment. But first, I just want to get your reaction to that accusation. I mean, it's pretty crazy to be thinking about.
Okay.
It is. I started reading the affidavit and
Okay, I want to get to the part of the affidavit, right? And this boy's family, okay, like his dad and all them, they wanted to keep this a secret. They did not let they did not want the 15-year-old to talk about it and tell anybody. Weirdos. Just saying. Hold on.
I had Chris Hansen here the other day, renowned predator catcher. And when we talk about these cases, adult film stars pretending to be step-parents and stepchildren, that makes up a large swath of the pornography industry. And you have to wonder, what impact do you think porn has on creating the foundation for crimes like these? And yes, these are allegations, and we're not saying pornography had any kind of impact on this, but it became part of the conversation. And I'm just wondering, in your opinion, is that a factor? Is that a consideration? Trying to make sense of stories like this. I deal with them all the time. Teachers, stepchildren. You tell me if I'm crazy for thinking that.
There's two parts of it, so I have a 13-year-old boy, and you got to gauge when you're going to have the birds and the bees talk, right? But like my parents, it was pre-internet. And so where else was I going to learn it other than from friends, right? Here, you're a VPN away, as a child, from seeing and knowing anything and everything. And, even Howard Stern on his radio show talks about his proclivity towards stepmom or stepdad porn. And that's exactly kind of what played out here. I don't know that one caused the other, but certainly our children are able to mature and know things. Even reading the affidavit here, you want the 15-year-old to be innocent, but the way that he was operating, clearly, even though allegedly he was a virgin, he moved in a way that seemed to be experienced.
Well, he's a minor, though. That's the problem. And there's no really any such thing as consent when you're dealing with a minor. So let me amplify that a little bit. Let me explain a little bit more of the circumstances of this case. So I want to talk about this alleged incident between Yates and her 15-year-old stepson, 15 years old. So Yates has been married to the boy's father for 6 years. This is according to social media posts that were viewed by the outlet Ocala News. The teen was apparently visiting his father in Florida in 2024 for summer break.
So he was 7 years old. This kid was 7 years old when she got together with his dad. Oh my God, she is a predator. Okay. God, I can't believe it. Maybe it wasn't Law and Crime. I watched. They actually put on the screen the affidavit. Maybe I should just find it myself.
To the Marion County Sheriff's Office, an anonymous tip came in on July 30th, 2024, saying that a man had walked in on his wife and son having sex. Okay? So detectives brought in the child victim for what's called a forensic experiential trauma interview at a child advocacy center to try to get to the bottom of what happened. Let's just stop right there. John, how are those interviews typically conducted?
Very sterile. You have somebody that's experienced with child trauma who conducts an interview. Typically you're looking at younger victims than this, so they're trained to handle things very delicately. This one read very interesting because, again, you're dealing with a teenage boy here, and there's some parts of it that apparently one of the interviewers was a female and even apologized to the female because the female interviewer, law enforcement agent, that he was having to use these words describing oral sex and going into great detail. The affidavit goes into tremendous detail.
Oh my gosh. What the teen reportedly said was just chilling and disgusting, to say the least. I mean, he apparently revealed that his dad worked late nights as a lineman, and he was staying with his dad, stepmom, 2 younger half siblings as part of this summer vacation. According to the arrest affidavit, on the night of the incident, Yates had put the youngest children to bed and then started playing a video game or video games and watched a movie with this 15-year-old. And he claims that she let him use her THC vape pen. Now, around 1 a.m., they both apparently decide they're bored with watching the movie that they're apparently they're watching, which is when the teen claims that Yates started making these inappropriate sexual comments, including allegedly that she was horny and hadn't had sex in 2 weeks. Now, the teen told the interviewer that Yates had been making sexual jokes in front of him for approximately a week leading up to that night. According to the arrest affidavit, he also disclosed that he hadn't had any sort of sexual experience before and was essentially, I think it's fair to say, based on the characterization, maybe infatuated with Yates. So, John, let's stop again. If this is all true, would this classify?
She's been grooming that boy. She's sick. And I bet he's not the only victim. Okay.
By his grooming, taking part in something the teen likes, the video games, giving the opportunity to partake in intoxicating substances, slowly introducing him to sexual ideas. Does that seem like a classic grooming accusation?
It does, because there's like a golf cart trip with other females at a point, and he takes a shot of alcohol and gets another exposure to either CBD or THC. I think it's THC. And even feels woozy to the point they need to speed the golf cart up so he can get some air. And then there's reference to this stepmom porn and horniness. And it's just appalling. And you don't talk to children like that, much less, push things forward. It's 100%, grooming. And there's like a reference comparing their penises in there too by her.
Yeah.
Which was mortifying.
Oh my
Let me just
God.
say, I'm not going to get.
Oh my God. Just think what that kid was thinking. But as they said, he said he was infatuated with her. Oh my God.
Get into detail, but she's accused of comparing the son to the father. Just put that to the side for a second. Okay. So the arrest affidavit continues, quote, thinking about all the statements the suspect had made to him about being horny, he decided to ask her if she wanted to cuddle. The suspect stated she thought that might be weird. So he lays on top of the suspect as she lay with her head down, the armrest of the couch, and she commented something to the effect of, "Oh, you're just going right for it, huh?" The suspect and child victim kissed. As the suspect began escalating, the suspect said, "Ah, man, I wish you were 18 because you're not old enough." Now, despite this alleged statement, the teen victim apparently told the interviewer that he performed oral sex on Yates. And this escalated with the two of them then having sex. And again, the details in this affidavit are incredibly detailed and graphic. We're not going to be getting into any of them here, but the interviewer noted that the way the teen described all of this was consistent with somebody who actually experienced this rather than somebody just telling them a story that they heard, which I think, John, is important, right? As disgusting as those details are, I think it goes to that level of credibility, and particularly it shows how careful these interviews have to be.
Right. The minutia matters, and they talk about cunnilingus and where he kissed and licked and her response, and it checks out, as the kids would say. It's outrageous and nothing but grooming, providing underage with intoxicants. It's just all around awful.
But it's interesting if you take these allegations as true, and we have a lot more to get into here, but for a minor to be able to open up and explain this, that's not easy for anybody, but let alone somebody that age. Do you see it's like they have a sense, I want to tell the story, I want to get this off my chest? And by the way, these are allegations, right? She hasn't been proven guilty, but it seems in a lot of the cases that I've covered,
mind you, this was weeks ago. So she took a plea deal, and 7 o'clock. Well, it'd be 8 o'clock. Sorry, Florida time is the sentencing, and I guess the 15-year-old and his mom are going to have a victim impact statement.
We've covered together, there is that level of detail and there is that level of opening up. And I'm curious if you see a pattern.
You do. This is a 15-year-old boy. And again, taking it that he is a minor, unquestionably, the average boy loses his virginity at 15 to 17. So at some point, I think he's not ashamed. There's the family shame, the what's going to come of how this destroys my family. But I think the sex act, he even, like I said, reference to the investigator, oh, sorry if I'm being too graphic. There's points of it that are so discussed in such detail. And this is just the report, right? This is just the officer's affidavit. There was almost, about the amount of time she had to moan, like there was almost some bravado in his storytelling. And it circles back on the double standard of some of these cases. Sometimes when you have a female victim versus a male victim, we're not as a society as appalled by this. If the genders were opposite, people would be in an outrage, and we should be equally outraged because a 15-year-old's a 15-year-old.
Going back to that arrest affidavit, it reads, quote, "Suddenly, the door began to unlock. The front door is directly in front of the couch. The child victim recalled running to the bathroom as his father entered the home, seeing his wife with no bra on and a blanket covering the lower half."
What is that making that noise? That is not me, people. I don't know if you hear it. It sounds like something being dropped. It's not me.
Half of her body. The child victim's father saw the child victim running to the bathroom and yelled, "What the bleep is going on?" as he threw things. Quote, "The child did not disclose what occurred, and his father told him to pack his things, saying he was taking the child victim to his grandparents' home. As he packed the things, he heard his father yelling at the suspect." Now, the teen told the interviewer that his father called his stepmother some things that we can't repeat here, but also allegedly called her a child predator. And according to the arrest affidavit, quote, "He also overheard the suspect telling the child victim's father she was sorry, saying the child victim looks like his father when he was younger." And according to the teen,
what is wrong with her? She's mental upstairs. Okay, she's only been married 6 years to this guy. How would she know what he looked like when he was a teen? By pictures? Or did she know him prior?
Yates immediately started spinning a tale that she wasn't at fault. Quote, "The child victim's father then returned the child victim and confronted him, saying the suspect told him she was asking child victim to stop. The child victim told his father this was untrue. The child victim then believed he was going to get beaten by his father's belt, but his father decided not to. He got into the car as the child victim's father told the child victim he ruined his life. They stopped at a gas station, and child victim's father purchased a 6-pack of beer, began drinking them aggressively as he took the child victim to his grandfather's home. The child victim's father told the child victim never to contact him again because he was, quote, a failure."
What a horrible, horrible father. Horrible father. This kid's going to be traumatized. Or is.
Now, the sheriff's office says that the teen claimed during this interview that members of his family were actively trying to cover up what had happened. Per the affidavit, quote, "He recalled disclosing what had occurred to his cousin at the location. After this, his grandfather confronted the child victim, saying, 'You better not be telling them what happened.' His grandfather then told him not to call his mother when the child victim attempted to call to disclose to her. When asked to clarify a statement made by the child victim about his father trying to cover it up, the child victim stated that his father called his grandfather saying he wanted to strangle the child and then kill himself. His father later called him and told him not to tell his mother and not to tell the police. The child victim's aunt later told the child victim that the suspect was talking about the incident but was calling the child victim a master manipulator, blaming him for the incident. So, John, a lot of allegations back and forth here. Hard to make sense of what's going on. But if you take this account as true, very, very disturbing. What do you take away from this?
Very disturbing. And you know, people tend to live in the now. And so you've got an electrical worker, right? The guy that goes on the lines and keeps our power on in Florida during, you know, I don't know whether this happened in hurricane season or not, but you know, hard worker who came in late at night, early in the morning, and sees this horror of horrors that then, you know, is going to have a secondary impact.
This is horrible. Good morning, sis. How are you? We are watching right now. Andrea Von Yates had sexual stuff with her stepson. He was 15 years old. Are you at work? Oh, yeah, that's right. Are you listening? Okay. Well, then I don't need to tell you what's going on. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, like always. All right, let's get back to it.
On his child custody, and you know, the stigma of this, you know, all your friends, all your neighbors are going to be, you know, if this makes public and people know who it is, are going to be like, what in the world? And so people live in the now. And so I'm not surprised that he would have suicidal thoughts. There was no physical violence, thank God. But I can't stress it enough. And no matter what the 15-year-old did to provoke or entice this, they can't. And so, you know, it's up to the adult to leave the room or you know, keep your clothes on. And that didn't happen here.
But if you take these allegations as true, also, do you see it common for the suspect, the defendant in this case, Ms. Yates, someone in her position, to shift the blame to the other party, to shift the blame to the minor victim, which, again, is not a legal defense, but generally speaking, do you see those kinds of defenses or justifications in a way, not even a legal defense, just a defense to what happened?
Right. I mean, according to the people that were there, according to this report, they both admit she did it and she was caught in the act of doing it. So the next best thing, you can't say it didn't happen, right? Your gaslight isn't going to shine that far. The next best thing is, but it's his fault. You know, I'm the victim. And the problem is that admits statutory rape, basically. But it's just, you know, what else are you going to say, kind of living in the now as a defense?
From a legal point of view, a Florida legal point of view, if these allegations are true, if you are telling the minor victim not to report what happened, not talk about what happened, is that a crime?
Should be.
It is. So Florida can prosecute that as you know, kind of double punishment.
Yeah, I think the dad and the grandpa should be charged. I hope that kid has not been back to his dad's. He's going to need therapy. So this should be interesting. What's said at sentencing?
Mixed in is either blackmailing of a witness or witness tampering.
Now, the affidavit continues, and the affidavit says, quote, the child victim expressed sorrow and was emotional as he disclosed realizing that his man's man, blue-collar father, seeing what happened to his son, did not face the sexual abuse of his child like a man. And according to the alleged victim, it didn't end there, because according to him, Yates continued trying to communicate with him. The arrest affidavit says the day after the incident, the child victim called the suspect. During this phone call, the suspect told the child victim she wished his father had not caught them. In the days after his interview with police, the affidavit indicates that the victim had a phone call with someone named Haley. Now, it's not clear who exactly this person is, but it's possible this person is a family member of some kind. Quote, she advises his father is willing to take the truth about the incident and protect the child victim if he's willing to testify. The child victim says now he knows his father is on his side, he would be willing to do so. The child victim was told that the child victim's father did not want to live with the suspect any longer, but it's complicated when asked about the relationship. The child victim was advised that his father wanted the suspect to be arrested. Haley advised that the child victim's father did not wish to kill him anymore and told her that
Jesus. Yeah, the whole family knew on that side. They blamed the 15-year-old. He was going to harm him. It's sick.
their grandmother and others that he will testify and wants the child victim to do so as well. Wow. Whiplash here, John.
The family dynamic is wild here. But again, you're dealing with a crime, but also the stigma of my partner does family law, and how this is going to be used in a custody case is real. And meanwhile, you have a 15-year-old kid that has emasculated in some ways their father. I mean, this wasn't just somebody that had been dating for a while. This was somebody he had been married to for a fairly lengthy period of time. And this is the ultimate betrayal, not just child abuse, but sexual abuse. And he's reading the report and saying that his penis size was compared to his 15-year-old's penis size and shape and color and texture.
Oh my God.
It's just, there are no words. It's awful.
Oh my God.
I have nothing to say to that. I got nothing to say to that. I don't know. Let me shake that one off for a second. So anyway, deputies, they indicate in this affidavit that they tried multiple times to get in touch with the Yates and her husband, but they were unsuccessful. So in November of 2024, they went to the home, took her into custody. According to the affidavit, Yates advised she did not wish to speak with me without a lawyer present, but made several unprovoked statements about believing that since the Department of Children and Families had closed their case, she was in the clear, saying the incident was so accusatory, attempting to put blame on the child victim. John, if that's true, what does that indicate to you?
They're two separate cases. The DCF investigation, and their resources and the amount of complaints they get versus what a law enforcement and a prosecutor are going to do is two separate things. And again, I don't know if she's Mirandized. It kind of says she was, but that was kind of a statement against interest too. It wasn't, I'm not going to talk and deny everything. It was, but they've already looked into this and they didn't see it was that bad. But again, this would have to be the lie of the century, a series of lies of the century. In other cases, you could see a child victim saying things that don't quite add up. But this is in such graphic detail, and there's some kind of contemporaneous admissions that to the father that I just don't see this going to full prosecution range.
Well, let's talk about the legal case. So Yates was originally arrested on a charge of lewd or lascivious battery on a child aged 12 to 16. But when prosecutors filed their case in December, they apparently charged her with sexual battery on a person 12 to 18 years of age by a person in familial custody. I read the statute on it, and it says this is when a person engages in any act with that person while the person is 12 years of age or older, but younger than 18 years of age, which constitutes sexual battery, commits a felony of the first degree. It could be punishable up to maybe 30 years in prison. The other charge was a second degree felony, my understanding is. So, John, this is per the Marion County online court records. It seems that they upgraded the charge. So a first degree felony, right?
Yeah, and you see that. And if it hit the capital level, they'd need a grand jury. That's not this case.
Okay. If that affidavit is graphic, as they say, well, I won't read it on here if you go to Patreon. She should get 30 years or more. It is disturbing. I just filed this case not too long ago, but sentencing is today. I seen it at the last second, so I thought I would come live, and yeah, so there's that.
But you see that kind of commonly, that police don't want to overcharge in the initial filings, the initial discussion. But once they put the facts around and see what the highest charge is for the court case, they try to charge as high as they can and then have the lesser includeds, within it in case that series of facts don't fit the crime. But here it seems like it does. You want all of the evidence you can get your hands on before, your filing decision.
She was released the following day after she posted a $10,000 bond. And according to online court records, various depositions of witnesses have been underway. Yates is due back in Marion County Court at the end of May. If she's convicted, I mean, she could be facing years in prison, right, John? I mean, this is not a probationary offense. If this is true, she could get prison time for this, significant prison time, right?
Not just years, but potentially decades. And courts are stepping up and doing this. I live in Florida, and so I watch the news in Florida, weekly, if not nightly, when I'm not watching Law and Crime. And
thank you for the plug. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Prosecutors are taking these cases seriously because teachers are losing their minds left and right and sleeping with their students.
Okay.
And it is being prosecuted seriously now. Again,
it's being prosecuted seriously, and like Misty says. is being prosecuted, but they're making plea deals. Yeah.
Used to be more of a double standard where if it happened to a girl, it was more seriously prosecuted. If it happened to a guy, like boys will be boys. But finally the law is like, we're going to protect all children.
Let's say this goes to trial, and all of a sudden, this alleged minor victim, the father, they don't want to testify about this. They don't want the shame of it. They don't want the harassment, whatever it might be. They decide, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to testify. Is that the end of the prosecution's case? Can they compel them to testify? You tell me how that works.
Yeah, so yes, they can compel them to testify. That doesn't mean that you're not. Look, as a prosecutor, you don't want your victim to be an uncooperative witness, and so there's a decision to be made if that were the case. All right, I can compel them to testify, and they're not going to answer me correctly, or they're not going to be sympathetic. I'm going to wind up losing this case anyway, and so then I have an uncooperative victim. I've lost the case. What good was it? I can certainly get in some of this through investigators, but you really need the victims, and the victims have to make a decision, because you're going to have at 15, you're going to have somebody that's still a minor that's trying to go on with their life, and a stigmatized father and other family members that just want this as far behind them as possible. But it's
the law should have been protecting the children years ago instead of slapping the accuser on the wrist. Too many times the past people were left off. Yep. They're all repeaters. Every one of them are repeaters. It's sick. They may be getting serious, but they're all making plea deals. Get a year or so. Some even just get probation.
It's in their future for a period of months or years. But this is not the end of the story. I want everybody to know, because in the meantime, while all this criminal case is going on, she's also facing a possible disciplinary hearing with the Florida Department of Health in regard to her nursing license. Remember, nurse? On April 25th, the department announced her license was suspended. Documents from the department say Joseph A. Ladapo, MD, PhD, State Surgeon General, orders the emergency suspension of the license of Alexis Yates, RN, to practice as a registered nurse in the state of Florida. In the course of their practice, registered nurses are responsible for administering treatment and medication to patients and caring for ill, injured, or infirm patients. Nurses are placed in a position of trust. Therefore, it is imperative that they demonstrate good judgment and good moral character. Ms. Yates' decision to engage in sexual activity with a minor child and/or her decision to allow a child to engage her in oral and penetrative sex indicates that she lacks the good judgment and moral character necessary to be a registered nurse. Ms. Yates' continued practice as a nurse presents a risk of immediate serious danger to the health, safety, and welfare of the public. The Department of Health is now reportedly in the process of setting up an official disciplinary hearing. She has 30 days to appeal her license suspension if she chooses. John, I understand it. I get it. But she hasn't been found guilty yet. They can make a decision like this nonetheless, you think?
She did lose it.
They can. You see it, people hear about it in the law enforcement context where, there's a police involved shooting and they're suspended with pay, and then there's an administrative finding and they're restored. And it's kind of similar here. The Department of Health can make decisions if they feel like there's going to be imminent risk to the public. And this is not just child abuse, but child sexual abuse. And the hospital doesn't want to be sued, and administrators don't want to have to deal with this. And so there's a temporary suspension of privileges while it's formally set for a hearing. And then there's an appellate process after that. I've had a abusive pediatric dentist, suspended, and they never got his license back.
She could get it back if the case is dropped or she's acquitted?
Absolutely. Or if she successfully convinces it gets into this whole Fifth Amendment thing, because you got to figure out which fight you want to fight. Because if you go to the administrative board and want to tell your story, that story will be used against you.
In the criminal case.
In the criminal case. Statement against interest by a party opponent, either way, it would come in. And so justice is spelled one way to a victim. And again, this is not your typical victim, but it's defined many different ways. And, typically victims want to see criminal justice. They want to see administrative justice. They, sometimes file lawsuits when those are both insufficient. And so there's definitely prosecution and investigation going around on all sides here.
What a case. What a case. John Phillips, thanks so much for coming on. It was great seeing you.
So that stepmom has been in that kid's life since he was 7 years old. She groomed him. Okay, where am I? All right. Yeah, she's a nurse. Who were just arrested for doing the same thing. Oh, God, of course. Missouri. Oh, my God. Ooh. Sorry. All right, let me look. Not yet. Hold on. I'm not getting my notifications, and I'm really mad. I'm having some problems. Listen to me. I'm having some problems with internet. Oh, God. Here's another one. We'll go through real quick. No. Do not do this again. Oh my God, here we go. Reload, 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 reload. Oh, okay.
Assault can be used against her at trial. And the judge made some pretty interesting points in the order that we're going to break down with Florida Judge Elizabeth Scherer. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Oh, Jesse.
We first told you about Alexis von Yates a few weeks ago. She's the 35-year-old whose husband walked in on her allegedly having sex with her stepson when she thought he was going to be at work. Remember this story? The incident reportedly happened last summer when the 15-year-old was apparently spending time with his father in Ocala, Florida over the summer break. He typically lives with his mother in Washington, D.C. And it wasn't until later that he confided to his mom about what allegedly happened. So what does she do? She calls in a tip to Ocala police. Now, Yates was arrested in November, initially charged with lewd or lascivious battery on a child aged 12 to 16, but prosecutors upgraded that charge to sexual battery on a person 12 to 17 years by a person in familial authority. So Yates' arrest affidavit included graphic details that the teen apparently shared with a forensic interviewer. And according to the alleged victim, his father was working overnight as a lineman, and after his younger half-siblings went to bed, he and Yates stayed up late playing video games, watching movies, and apparently also using Yates' marijuana vape pen. According to the arrest affidavit, quote, the suspect and child victim kissed. As the suspect began escalating, the suspect said, man, I wish you were 18 because you're not old enough. Now, despite this alleged statement, the teen victim told the interviewer.
Yes, that's why I'm showing you guys this. I already knew about it, but she's being sentenced today. Like in a little bit. All right, well, Jesse.
Interviewer that he performed oral sex on Yates, and this escalated with the two then having sex. The interviewer noted that the way the teen described the acts were consistent with someone who actually experienced all this rather than someone, just telling a story that they've heard. And he also apparently told the interviewer what allegedly happened in the aftermath. He claims that his father told him to pack his things up, go stay at his grandparents' home. And as he was packing, he claims he overheard Yates telling his father that she was sorry and that the child victim looks like his father when he was younger. So just take that for a second, how disturbing those allegations are. But according to the teen, multiple family members discouraged him from talking to the police or disclosing what happened to his mom. His aunt also allegedly told him that Yates had been telling people that he manipulated her into having sex. So when police arrested Yates in November, according to the affidavit, quote, Yates advised she did not wish to speak with me without a lawyer present, but made several unprovoked statements about believing that since the Department of Children and Families had closed their case, she was in the clear, saying the incident was so accusatory, attempting to put blame on the child victim. Yates was released on a $10,000 bond, and since then, there have been several motions that were filed in the case, and attorneys from both sides have conducted depositions, and this includes one that was done by the defense via Zoom with the alleged victim. So a hearing was recently held to determine whether the boy's statements made in the weeks and months after the assault could in fact be heard by a jury at Yates' upcoming trial. The judge released an order this week allowing that testimony to come in. So to talk about why the court was so concerned about these statements and the reasoning behind the decision, I want to bring in retired Judge Elizabeth Scherer, who has
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to start. It hasn't started yet.
as many of you know, oversaw the case of the Parkland school shooter in Florida, is now in private practice with Conrad and Scherer. Judge, so good to see you. Thanks so much for coming back here on Sidebar. It's been a minute. It's really, really good to see you. First of all, this is one of the craziest stories and most disturbing stories that we've covered on Sidebar, at least in recent memory. What's just your initial reaction when you hear something?
Oh, do you know who that judge is?
I mean, you don't hear it.
That is the judge that that kid that was the school pew. What's his name? That weird kid. That was the judge.
As often when it involves a child victim being a male and the accuser being a female, you more often hear about the accuser being accused being a male and the victim being a female. So it's sort of not your ordinary set of circumstances, but also the way that it unfolded and the excuses that she gave, like, oh, he seduced me and all these kinds of things. We're talking about a 15-year-old child here who was left in your care and custody. As an adult, you're supposed to look after these children, and research shows that actually boys' minds develop even slower than girls' minds. So oftentimes boys, there's a ton of psychological testing and research that's been done to show that boys are actually less mature than girls at this age of 15 years old, and that they don't in fact mature until they're in their mid-20s. So this was a child. He may be built like a man, he may have the stature and the ability to do things like a man, but he's a child, and this is a crime, and one that everyone should take very seriously.
Hey, so we know that you guys are true crime fans, but are you also in a business of some kind? If so, I want to tell you real quick about our sponsor, Odoo. So Odoo is a powerful educator, a teacher who has sexual relations or is accused of having sexual relations with a male student. And he's like, everybody thinks, oh, this is a young boy's dream. It's really not. It's incredibly damaging and hurtful and can have long-lasting effects, not only for the alleged victim, but the family members as well. The issue here, I understand, I think it has to do with hearsay, right? So talk to us about two things. A lot of people what is hearsay? Just if you could explain what is hearsay, and why was the defense so worried about hearsay, in your opinion?
Okay, so hearsay is the statement that one makes that's overheard by someone else. So as opposed to me saying, I was on the Jesse Weber show this morning and I saw him drinking a bottle of whatever he's drinking, and he's got books in the background. You say
it's water, by the way, in case anybody thinks I'm drinking alcohol out here. I'm not.
I didn't know if
this interview is going fine. This interview is going fine. I don't need a drink just yet.
Flat is all I was saying. I couldn't tell whether it was Perrier or flat water. Anyway, so as opposed to me saying that, then you saying Judge Scherer was on and she saw me and she said that she saw me. She said that she did this and she said that she did that. That's hearsay. And in most circumstances, hearsay is not admissible, but there are a few exceptions to that rule. And one is the child hearsay exception. And that is, it was passed in the 80s by the Florida legislature, and most states have similar laws where children the harm to the child and being brought to a courtroom and having to testify in front of the accuser, the accused, about these very sensitive issues, is said to be that trauma outweighs the confrontation clause issues that the defendant may have in being able to confront the witness under their constitutional rights. So the legislature has found that the harm to the child outweighs, and the need to protect the child outweighs some aspects of the confrontation clause, in that this type of hearsay is admissible. So if a child goes to a doctor, a child goes to their teacher, a child goes to their caregiver and says, this happened to me, and in great detail, many times the person that the child said those statements to is permitted to testify, as opposed to having the child testify, because of the harm that it could possibly do to the child.
Is it also the rationale that a child of that age is more, and I hope I'm saying it the right way, is more likely than not telling the truth, is more credible than an adult when you have hearsay issues? Or is it purely, as you said, hey, listen, we don't want to further damage or traumatize somebody in this situation? Or is it that, sometimes we have hearsay exceptions, right? Where their hearsay exceptions would say, in those certain specific moments, there could be a reason to believe that statement more than in other kind of circumstances. Do you think there's something to this, that in those specific instances, having a child recounting these alleged episodes to a doctor or a teacher or a parent, there is a credibility issue? It makes it more credible.
I think ordinarily, and I hate to have to
At times, it makes me physically ill, but I, like Tristan, will rise above, and he will take back his power. He already is. Despite all of the trauma inflicted on him, he still has a beautiful life to look forward to. A life full of love, hope, and endless possibilities. And as for you, Alexis, you have shown absolutely no remorse or accountability for your despicable actions. And in fact, you've even bragged that you won this case because you're only getting 2 years in prison. But there's something you will never escape: the deep well of emptiness inside you, the lack of capacity for love or care, the impossibility of personal growth for a person who has zero empathy or self-awareness. You will always be the same pathetic person that you are right now, whether you are in prison or in the outside world. And although you systematically manipulated, groomed, and sexually abused the child, I refuse to use the term predator to describe you. That word evokes images of apex creatures, powerful, masterful, beautiful, and clever. None of that applies to you. Through your actions and through your conduct since, you have proven yourself to be a coward, weak, foolish, and ugly, inside and out. You thought you were smarter than everyone else, but look at you now. You've lost your career, your family, your reputation, and now your freedom. People all over the world have seen your face, read your story, and are disgusted by you. There is nowhere you can go to escape the truth. And because of my son's courage, for the rest of your life, the world will see you for exactly who and what you are: an incestuous pedophile who will forever only be remembered for what she took from a child. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Steve, do you have any additional questions for her?
That's great. So just wanted to ask you a little bit about Tristan. Is he currently in counseling?
Yes.
And I know you mentioned that you're the only one who's there for him to kind of pick up his pieces and help him maneuver through this. What is his father's name?
His father hasn't spoken to him once since all this happened.
Okay, and what is his name?
David Yates.
And you said he has not spoken to him since this incident was reported.
Correct, even though Tris did try to reach out to him.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Mrs. Sparrow, do you have any questions? Ma'am, I do want to ask one thing. The only reason I accepted this negotiated agreement was because I was told that both you and Tristan were 100% in agreement with it. Is that the case?
Yes, only because Tristan's well-being is more important than the suffering.
I understand, and I understand that negotiated plea agreements often, in cases like this, take into account the well-being of the child and concerns over the child having to testify and recount all this in a very public way. So,
Right.
but if you and Tristan are in agreement with this outcome,
Yes.
all right, very good. Thank you, ma'am.
All right,
And did Tristan want to be heard?
yes.
Okay, they muted it for some reason. Look at her attitude. Look at, she's wearing black, but she's at her own funeral right now. She needs to, I'm not a violent person, but somebody needs to hitch leopard. Just say, to get that look off her face, an attitude. Is that boy speaking? The 15-year-old, I wonder? Because it's not being muted, just so you people know once again. You know what I'm going to do, people? Because I'm going to do what I do. She goes to prison, I'm going to contact her. I'm going to tell her how nasty she is. She's going to blame the child. And you know what? I'm really disgusted with this judge for allowing this plea deal. Now, okay, fine. If he gives her a good 30 years plus, then I'm cool with it. But if she only gets a couple years, that's worse. I wonder if that boy's talking. It could be. I'm going to make sure I put her face out there on all my platforms so people know who she is. Oh, geez, that was loud. Oh, I gotta turn that down. I don't want to sit there and stare at her. It could be the boy. Her demeanor has. Look at her. Did she just roll her eyes? I hope they take her right from the courtroom because I love it when in Florida they do this. You know, like they do perp walks, like in Texas and stuff. They do like the fingerprints and all that. You're doing okay, kid. Heard you live. Oh my God, I'm traumatized, and I'm still traumatized. And she did some things that are very unforgivable. And she threatened me.
Okay. Stay with any other witnesses who want to present their testimony?
No, sir, that was it.
Mr. Sparrow? Obviously, this is an agreed upon outcome of those. I know your client appears to have some family here. Anybody wishes to speak?
No, Your
Is there any reason I cannot be both sentences?
Honor. No, Your Honor.
Ms. Yates, is there anything you would like to say before I end those sentences?
No, Your Honor, no comment.
Wow.
Very well. As the offense of ruthless abuse, battery on a child, 12 to in these days would be adjudicated locally within 6 years in the Department of Corrections. What's your credit for time served?
What'd she get?
Judge, I can get it.
I believe it's 2 days. Let's check. Did you stay over past midnight?
Yes, sir.
It's probably 2 days. We'll check. 2 years Department of Corrections, followed by 2 years of community patrol, followed by 10 years sex offender probation, with all standard conditions outlined in Florida Statute 948.130 following special conditions. And sex offender community patrol. You'll pay the following: $150 fine plus court costs, $150 in cost of prosecution. For the state attorney's office, $151 for rape crisis trust fund, $151 for child advocacy trust fund. You must complete 200 hours of community service in Marion County solid waste period, at least 16 hours per month. Those must be completed within the first 2 years of supervision. You'll have no contact with Tristan Brights, and that is going to be not only while on probation, but also as a term period. While you're in prison, you can have no contact with him. Statute.
Judge, I apologize. This plea was made before the court wanted me to add that statute.
Pursuant to Florida Statute 921.244, you shall have no contact with Tristan Christ directly or indirectly to a third person for the duration of your sentence imposed. Understand, ma'am, that if you were to have contact with him during your prison sentence in violation of that statute, any sentence that you receive would have to be, by law, be run consecutively to your Department of Corrections sentence.
Yes, sir.
Also, Ms. Yates, it's in the plea agreement, but it is not part of the sentence. You will be deemed a sexual offender for Section 943.0435. You have to register and comply with all reporting requirements under that statute. While you are on probation now, understand that violation of your reporting requirements not only would constitute a violation of your probation conditions, it's also a crime. And persons who violate that statute, they score out under the criminal punishment code mandatory prison, even for a first offense. Okay?
Yes, sir.
We have credit for time served, state.
2 days, Judge.
Receive 2 days of credit for time served, will be remanded in custody of the sheriff, transportation to the Department of Corrections. You have 30 days, man, if you would like to file a notice of appeal from the appeal road. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Let's wait for the fingerprint process to be over the machine. Ask any questions. Yes, sir. And Ms. Kreitz and Mr. Kreitz, anytime that you all want to leave, you can. I will leave the Zoom screen on open during the fingerprinting process. If you all would like to watch that, you're free to go at any time. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to lie.
And Mr. Kreitz, you did nothing wrong.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And it's on your father.
Okay. You asked what she got. I have no idea because I could not hear the judge. The sound was horrible. Yeah, this case is unbelievable. She had such an attitude. I couldn't believe it. She's going to have fun in prison. I got kind of panicked because I heard the judge say, time served. Like, what? Unless he said credit for time served. I don't know. He was hard to hear. This is always my favorite part. I wish they had her turned around the other way, though. That was fun. Hi. Good morning. That's her hubby. I think that's her husband. Oh my God, she's smiling. Okay, there you go. There's that. She's gross. Well, she's going to get what she deserved. She's probably going to be with other offenders that are like her because there is a lot in Florida. Yes, you did. It wasn't very long. It was quick. Don't know. We couldn't hear the judge. The sound was horrible. I wish I knew. You know what I'm going to do though? I'm going to download this video, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do closed caption. You see. All right, people. I'm going to go for now. I've been live for what? An hour. And I appreciate every one of you. And I do like that name, by the way. Music by Brian. Do you actually do music? Do you? Okay, Michelle, I want to tell you something. I want to tell everybody again. Maybe I should do a separate one. I didn't realize it, but the messages that I got from KB were threatening. She said I fucked up. She said two things, actually. And I'm like, wait a minute. These are threats. These are threats. I don't know what kind of threats. But she's a dangerous individual. She is mean. And I'm scared of her. And what's even sadder, she knows where I live, she knows my name, and she knows my birthday. Because I think she can be very vindictive, and she'll want to hurt somebody. And I never talked about her. I just blocked her from all my platforms because what she did to my daughter was unforgivable. My daughter died shortly after. I will never forgive her. But no, it's all about her. Poor me, poor me. Just saying. All right. I've said enough. But I just want to say I was threatened. I was threatened. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. I appreciate every one of you.
Boot up the stream, grab your snack and noodle. Here comes the queen, kid and caboodle. Wi-Fi blazing, wig on tilt. More drama than a soap opera quilt. Kid logs on in a sparkly robe, sipping iced tea like she runs the globe. Drops more truth than a psychic at noon, with a cat named Taco and a raccoon named Boom. Kid and caboodle is a hot shit Uber, Wi-Fi warrior, clickbait mover, shaking up the algorithm like a smoothie blender. Watch out, trolls, he's a copyright sender. Hot shit YouTuber, talking tea with a pink ring light aura. Yeah. She reviews shampoo and ghost hunts too. Caught Bigfoot slipping in a Gucci shoe. Unboxes snacks, talks haunted dolls, and drops a diss track on bathroom stalls. Kid and caboodle is a hot shit Uber, hashtag queen, thumbnail smoother, dancing in a study with a llama on her head, uploading content even while in bed. Hot shit YouTuber, even aliens subscribe, that's no rumor. Yeah. She vlogs in Walmart, midnight mission, caught in aisle 9 with divine precision. Mic in hand, she interviews cheese. Sir, you aware you're lactose free? Goes live while baking glitter pies. Starts a feud with ducks, no lies. Reacts to Karen's, paints her Jeep, and once went viral yelling sheep don't sleep. Kid and caboodle is a hot shit Uber, ring light blazing, sassy maneuver. Bans a troll while dancing to chair, then sells merch made from her own hair. Hot shit YouTuber, even her outro has a blooper. To play Fortnite, hosted a seance on Tuesday night. Got possessed midstream, ate a burrito, still hit upload, respect amigo. Now Netflix calls and brands wanna collab, but Kit just vlogged from her glittery cab. She's not here for clout or fame, she's here to win the